reward. Are these resources
Mm.
available? Where are they available? If they are available, are they cultivatable? For instance, you can have land. If you have a mountainous land, you cannot plant
Yeah,
rice
it
there,
won't
right?
work. Yes.
Even though you have land. So you cannot just talk about access land. We talk about what do you want to do with the land? You want to cultivate the land. Is the land cultivatable? So if it's
Good
cultivatable,
question.
yes, you have that. So if you have other resources, then what is the reward, right? You don't just produce for charity. You want to maintain your life and also want to contribute to the society, right?
Correct.
So what's the reward for land? The land is rent. What's the reward for labor? Is wage. So if the wage is depressed, if the wage is not attractive, we talk about youth not going to agriculture, but how much they get at the end of the day? What's the highest paid farmer or
Yeah.
farm worker, compared to somebody that is in the oil industry? Right? So what is the reward for the wage? Yeah. For the labor is wage. What's the reward for management? To bring all these resources together, land, labor, capital, entrepreneur together to be able to manage and get something better. What is the reward? Is profit. So is the person making profit? Say everybody should be an entrepreneur. Blah, blah, blah. But if you are, after 2 years, you don't see yourself breaking through in terms of making profit, you go to other things and do other things because you don't want to continue the cycle of poverty again that I mentioned earlier. So as an economist, agricultural economics for that matter, is to help people to understand these resources and the rewards that are accrued to them and how they can use that to develop the society. So you link that to development. So what are the development indices? One, we can talk about better nutrition. So how do you manage resources on the land, the water, to produce better fish, to produce better crops, to produce the better livestock, like cattle or goats, that are well fed, we have better nutrition, that people, when they eat, they look healthy and not fall sick. So that is the development outcome. Because if people eat and fall sick, it affects the labor, the productivity of the country. And if productivity of the country is low, it will affect the GDP, because GDP, which is an economic indicator, is saying that this is the total sum of what everybody in the country has produced, but in monetary terms.
Today's episode examines sustainable agri-food system as both a field of scholarly inquiry and a strategic policy instrument in Africa. Drawing on the work of Images Initiative, the conversation explores how mentorship, research ecosystem, and the Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program, CAADP, aligned frameworks can strengthen early career scholarship while ensuring that academic research translates into durable policy impact. The discussion situates African knowledge production within institutional thinking, climate resilience, and development pathways beyond short project cycles. My guest today is Dr. Olawale Olayide. Dr. Olayide is an agricultural economist and a sustainable development scholar whose work sits at the intersection of research, policy, and institutional capacity building in Africa. As president of the Images Initiative, he has played a central role in advancing research ecosystems that are not only methodologically rigorous, but also policy relevant and continentally aligned. His leadership foregrounds sustainable agri-food systems, early career researcher development, and the translation of academic knowledge into actionable frameworks linked to CAADP and broader African development priorities. Through Images, he has helped reimagine mentorship and research infrastructure as long-term public goods rather than short-term project outputs. The Solomon Atah Podcast starts right now. Dr. Olayide, good afternoon and welcome.
How are you today?
I am doing very well. It's so good to have you on the podcast. How is Ibadan this afternoon?
Ibadan this afternoon is very bright and sunny. We had rain last night, and so little wonder we're having a very hot day, but it's fine. It's very bright today.
Fantastic. I know
Ibadan is hope it will be cooler later in the day.
I know Ibadan is a very vibrant, commercial, academic city. What are some of the big things that are happening from Ibadan academically or in the academic space, the research space these days? What are we not hearing about that is important?
And maybe what you need to hear now is that for another time, University of Ibadan is ranked the best university in Nigeria by the Times Higher Education. And also in terms of the socialization of the city, we are marking our 50th anniversary of the creation of the state. Actually, Oyo State, Ibadan is the capital of Oyo State. So both ways we are celebrating on the academic front and also in the social front. Ibadan is a great city. We call it the ancient city, but it's being modernized now. So we have a blend of both the modern and the ancient in the city of Ibadan. I invite you to come to Ibadan.
Certainly. I can't miss that for a thing. So sustainable agri-food systems are often discussed in technical terms. How do you conceptualize them as a broader development and governance framework within African context?
Yes, sustainable agri-food system, just saying that agriculture needs to be sustainable. I mean, when you talk about sustainable, we talk about taking care of present generation so that the future generation will be able to take care of themselves too. So if you contextualize that in terms of food, it means that you have food today, you don't go hungry tomorrow, right? You need to have food throughout generation. But we know that that is like thinking in a way not practical, because in Africa, we still have a lot of people who go to bed hungry every day. And it is the hunger continent of the world, in that also poverty continent of the world. But yet we have a lot of resources, not to talk of human resources. We have a lot of natural resources, agricultural resources that can give us what we want in terms of food. But why are these resources not translating to food on the table? One, it's because of the problem of agri-food system. Our agricultural production is not informed, it's not coordinated as a system. So what I mean by not coordinated as a system, for instance, a farmer somewhere in a village, somewhere in Ibadan, for instance, it says is producing cassava and maybe maize. And that's what it does. It doesn't think about when am I going to plant to be able to get a certain market, right? It doesn't think about that. It doesn't think about if I plant and it's harvest time, I don't have people to buy or where to store if there's surplus, if everybody is producing the same thing, why the market will be deflated. So the price will go down. Or it doesn't think about, if the rain doesn't come when it should come, what will I do to still be able to sustain what I've planted on the field? For instance, if you plant, maize should be mature within 3 months. In the fourth week, which is first month, and you have cessation of rain, we will call the dry spell. The year started good, and you say, it's going to be a great year, but suddenly the rain stopped and you don't have backup for irrigation, even though you have done everything that you should do, but weather is impacting. So in that case, we say we are not resilient. So to talk about agri-food system, therefore, is to talk about the holistic value chains of production that comes from inputs to production to taking care of what you have planted or what you are rearing, because agriculture is also not about crops anyway. It talks about fisheries, it talks about livestock, and even forestry. So in order to be able to have what you have planted or what you are growing to the market and be able to get your return is what we call agri-food system. All the systems are linked. So if you don't think that let me just plant, somebody else will take care of processing. No. Even if somebody is taking care of processing, you must be able to say that when I plant and harvest, this is the person that will take up what I've planted. But if there's system, that system is not in place, then it will continue to have this cycle of poverty that we have. We call it poverty trap because you have low investment. You don't even have money from the last harvest to invest this year. And because you don't have money to invest this year, your holdings, what you cultivate is small. Not to talk of weather and other issues, because when you have low investment, low production, you have low output, your low output leads to low income, and low income leads to poverty. So we continue to have that cycle. So we call that cycle of poverty or poverty trap. So to be able to break out of that poverty trap, we need to think holistically. We need to think of the full system that takes care of governance. So what we governance do, how will policy of government be a signal to what I produce? You cannot be producing what you know that you will not have market for. So if government is saying, this is what I'm going to support, it's only farmers or producers in this place I'm going to support. If, for instance, farmers are saying, we talk about aging population in agriculture, and farmers are saying, and I mean, government is saying that we need to encourage the youth to go into agriculture. So, and that is the priority of government. So they are not supporting older people again, because young people bring innovation to the system. Instead of using cutlasses and machetes to cultivate the land, the youth cannot do that. So because they have degrees, as we say now, they have gone to the university. They want to have what we call white-collar job, even though agriculture is not seen as white-collar job, but you can modernize. Talk about the modernization. How do you modernize agriculture so that it can be attractive to the youth? And the youth are not employed. So employment is in agriculture. So why don't you bring this human resource in terms of youth that you have trained in agriculture? They don't have to necessarily study agriculture in the university, but maybe they have studied engineering. How will an engineer, civil, mechanical, whatever, work in a farm, a modern farm? We need to have tractor. We need to have drones that will monitor the pest in the farmland. We need to have irrigation. How do you have water engineers who understand the water cycle and the hydrology and the aquifers, the water in the ground, and we need to put all this system together. That's what
I have a question.
System. Agrifood system. All systems working in harmony.
I have a question, Dr. Olayide. I'm going to be coming in here and there. I'm no expert, but I want to try and just guide it a little bit so that we can get as much research information from you as is possible for the audiences. When you were speaking earlier, just on this first question, there's something that you mentioned, and it's something I say that when a government official is speaking, somewhere in there is a business sitting. And you've mentioned it about how when the government says this is what they are going to support, this is where we should be paying attention to. That's the one part of my comment and question. The question is, why are the youth waiting for someone to invite them to agriculture? Doesn't their education tell them that this is where the money is, if you like? This is where the money is. This is where the future is. Because a lot of research shows that the continent has a lot of arable land, agricultural land. The continent has a lot of young people. Who is going to feed these young people by 2040, 2050? Dr. Olayide?
Okay, thank you for that. Ideally, you would think that when government say this, then the youth should take opportunity. But that is where mentorship is very critical. People choose career because they see somebody doing it successfully. Because youth now, they look at the success and the track record. Who is successful? Who has been successful being a farmer, for instance? They have a lot of people around them who are farmers with their grandparents, hardly, we have net net importers at the national level, or net buyers of even what they produce. I mean, whatever they produce is not even enough for the family, right? And you want the youth to also have that experience. No, they will not have that. But if you have mentors, if there are exposures, if there are opportunities for you to learn from other people who have been successful, not the people they see every time. So they will be able to take up that opportunity. If government is demonstrating, right, that government has supported, maybe they want to start with if a government want to go into agriculture, we need to map the country, because it's not every crop or every agricultural commodity that can do well everywhere.
Yes.
Because of climate, because of the terrain and all that issues. So the government of the country probably need to say, okay, for this zone, these are the things that are going to thrive there. For this other zone, these are the things we're going to support. So if a youth is coming out of the university and is interested, the interest has to be developed anyway. And the person is interested, they can say, I want to go into this, but I want to do it differently. The education they also get in the university must help them to think critically and say, okay, why is this problem lingering for decades or centuries? What can we do differently? How can I apply my knowledge? For instance, we don't expect everybody to study agriculture because that will even become productive. But we want everybody to study everything in terms of multidisciplinarity and also able to contribute. How do you see your field of study contributing to another problem? For instance, if you study agriculture and we have health challenge, how do you think your agriculture can fit into solving the health problem? Then you need to think, okay, for instance, farmers have issues with health. I don't want to mention any particular ailment, but how do you think that how will a medical person say, okay, if I'm able to solve this problem, the farmer will have more time to be able to produce food. And if we have more food, we'll not be talking about children who are undernourished. And if children are not undernourished, their IQ is developed. So they will be the people who will be developing the technology that will be able to solve the farmers' problem. We're able to have more machineries that can save time. Because we talk about time savings and labor saving. So if an engineer is able to develop a time saving or labor saving equipment, it will make the farmer to have a longer life expectancy. And life expectancy is an outcome, it's an health outcome, not necessarily an agricultural outcome, because a life expectancy will improve your productivity on the farm. So if we have people who live longer, they will be able to contribute. So if we have people who are living longer, the society will even get improve, because we have people who you can learn from because of their years of staying on this earth. They can teach you how not to do things, so as not to have the negative outcome of their own experience. So
Dr. Olayide, is that way?
As a holistic approach, really, and that's why we talk about systems now. System thinking is the way to go. How is A linked to B, and how is B linked to D in a system?
Dr. Olayide, is that where the Africa Graduate Mentorship and Coaching Program comes in? Because I see here, I have a question that says, the Africa Graduate and Mentorship and Coaching Program enrolls 60 early career researchers across regions. What institutional gaps was this program designed to address beyond individual skills training?
Thank you. This again comes from my experience.
Okay.
And the people I work with. I've been privileged to be mentored, and after my doctoral degree, I got the mentorship program in 2015.
Okay.
And through that, when I was living that mentorship program, I told myself that I should be able to give back to the society. If I've been mentored correctly, I should be able to do something.
Yeah.
But as an individual, you cannot, you don't have funding. You are not a funding agency.
Yeah.
So it was difficult for that. But I wanted to do it differently, even though I don't have money, but I have networks. And network is your network. So
yes.
You don't have to have cash in the bank when you have people who share your own vision with you. So I decided to say, okay, that was 2015. I came back to university. I was again very busy and all that. But towards the end of, fast forward, towards the end of 2019, I decided that I would start something by 2020.
Okay.
So
then COVID came.
Right? But I thought that we already designed that we are going to be hybrid, right?
Yes.
So that's why the importance of vision is very critical. And when you are the envisioning or visioning, you need to analyze all the points to
Yes.
say, okay, what's the worst scenario? And if you're able to get to worst scenario, then you know that you can't go lower than that. So we decided to launch our register an organization called Images Initiative. And
What
we
does that
started
mean, Dr. Olaide? Images, what does images stands for?
Images, that's another story, but let me give you a story. Images means, it's an acronym. It means I is interconnections.
Yeah.
M is making.
Yeah.
A is Africa.
Yeah.
G is great. E is empowerment. And S is sustainable. So it's interconnections for making Africa great, empowered, and sustainable.
Incredible.
So what it means, the word, the first letter there, interconnections, interconnections is actually connected with a conference that I attended in Bonn in 2017. So it was at that conference, again, exposure, attending conference, sharing ideas on the global stage. It was at that conference in Bonn in Germany that we had a light talk, what is called a light talk, just come and share ideas. After this conference, what do you want to do? How are you inspired? Then I came up with that idea of images, not knowing exactly what I would be doing. That was 2017. But after the conference, then in the following year, I had the opportunity to organize a conference. I started something like tree planting before the conference, because as climate change expert too, I know the importance of mitigation, right? And tree planting help us to offset carbon that we otherwise deposit, as it were, during the conference. So we call it carbon footprint. So our impact on the climate that is measured by the carbon emission as a result of the conference is the carbon footprint. But how do we offset that? So we normally have to plant trees to offset our carbon. And I would encourage every conference to do that. We are the only conference that I know in Nigeria that does that. And our conferences move around the continent. So coming back to the Images Initiative and the Africa Graduate Mentorship and Coaching Program.
Yes.
In Images Initiative, we have different programs.
Okay.
But the AGMCP, which is the Africa Graduate Mentorship and Coaching Program, is one of our flagship programs. This, again, is brought out of my experience as someone who has gone through mentorship program, and I wanted to do that in the company. And then we understand to others. And the gaps are specific.
Okay.
So we don't want to do things like others, because as coming out of coming out from research experience, we know I've been part of mentorship program, and I know there are other mentorship programs within the continent and outside the continent. So what exactly are we going to be doing differently? One is that we're going to recruit only Africans in Africa and Africans in diaspora. Now, Africans in Africa, maybe that is given, but African in diaspora, you will think, do they need mentorship? Yes, because many of people, from our experience, when they go outside Africa to study, usually the culture of the society is not African, right?
Yes,
so they feel isolated, even though they have gone to greener pasture, as we always say that in Africa. But you can also maintain your garden. It will be green, just trust me.
Yeah.
So when they go out, they feel isolated. They always want to talk to somebody who is an African who has had that experience with them. So we bring them on board as diaspora on the continent, and we attach them to an African who is also in diaspora, right? So that person coming from that culture, being an African, and also having a diaspora experience, who has been there before or still there now, is able to advise properly. And the type of skill we present, this is the second gap we are filling, is that we ensure that the matching is related to what the person is doing.
Yes, so like what they are studying is called what they are studying in university.
Yes, what you are studying, and you have to be in the university to qualify. Anyway, master's, PhD, or just finished from the university as a doctoral candidate.
Yes.
So we have to do the matching. So that's why somebody is working on nutrition,
Yeah.
we get somebody that's also working on nutrition, so that you can, the language of communication is understood.
It's simpler.
So
Yes.
you talk about the jargon, scientific jargon, you also talk about the relationship and all that. So we provide soft skills and hard skills.
I see.
The hard skills has to do with all the rigors that you need to put into research, develop an abstract, develop a study agenda, write, review, and all that, analyze,
great.
robust thing. So we provide all that. That is hard skill. We also provide soft skills, right? The soft skills include relationship. How do you relate with your supervisor? Because the students have supervisor in the university. This person just coming as a second.
Oh, that's great. I can tell you.
And this person is just a mentor. So apart from the supervisor you have who may not understand you in terms of culture, you have this mentor who understands what you are doing,
guide,
in terms of the research, also understand your emotion. He will ask you about your people in the village.
And provide some kind of support, extra academic support.
Exactly. But your supervisor in Europe doesn't even care about your parents or your sister just put to bed. Why is that my interest? No. But your mentor will guide you. Will also, did you call? When last did you call your mom and things like that? How's your dad? What's he doing? Is he retired? Is he still in service?
Those things are important.
How was the election in your country? I learned this person is president. He doesn't understand the culture.
Those things are important.
Those things
in
are
grounding a researcher in a foreign land.
And Africa and in diaspora. Yes, so we provide both the soft skill and the hard skill. But also part of the soft skill we provide is now, even when we often think futuristic, now you will not be a student forever. So how do you balance work life and your marital relationship? So we provide, towards the end of the fellowship year, we also have that module, because we run monthly module in the fellowship program. So towards the end, we provide you, you are rounding off. How do you manage relationship? How do you manage burnout when you are tired?
Burnout is real. Burnout is real, especially if you are pursuing like a PhD and you finish it. You are really I see on LinkedIn people come and write that the journey was tedious. It was they have all these adverbs that they describe it, Dr. Olayide. But you've already answered my other question, which I was going to say, how is your mentorship different? You've already trashed that. You've already dealt with that question. But now let me go to CAADP. CAADP provides a continental policy framework, yet implementation varies widely. Where do you see academic research most effectively shaping CAADP-aligned outcomes on the ground?
In developing the CAADP and the agenda CAADP is actually one of the programs of the African Union Commission, which is geared towards achieving the Agenda 2063. The Agenda 2063 is saying that Africa as a continent will be marking a centenary of its establishment by 2063. So there have been programs since 2003 and benchmark every 10 years to see how we move towards achieving a prosperous Africa by
the Africa we want.
The Africa we want agenda, right? So the CAADP, which is the Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program, is one of the flagship program. But this one particularly focusing on agriculture.
Okay.
So in developing that, from 2023, we have the Maputo, then in 2024, 2014, 2015, we had the Malabo. Now we are talking about the Kampala agenda, which starts from this year, effectively from this year, 2026 to 2035. So the 10-year policy framework is focusing on agri-food system. And in developing this 10-year rolling, this 10-year rolling plan is we work on evidence. What are the challenges in the continent as far as agriculture
Evidence-based
is
challenges.
evidence-based. Yeah. So what are the
Correct.
challenges in Africa in the last 10 years? For instance, because we moved from Malabo, we had to assess and say, okay, where do we go? Now, we're saying that agriculture in the continent has always focused, or since 2023 up to last year, focused on production. It wasn't talking about this, how the systems are linked. You
I
just
see.
produce. At the end of the day, you have what we call excesses, or we call it gluts. And then the market is depleted and you have low returns when you are processed. We also talk about, so if you have this system in place, so what is the evidence that we need to put in place to ensure that after 10 years, we don't even talk about poverty again?
Or food safety or food insecurity or something.
Food insecurity.
Yeah, food insecurity.
We'll talk about food security and nutrition.
Yes.
Which
means our descriptions of lived experience would have changed based on these
evidence.
Programs.
Exactly. That is the expectation.
Okay.
But no, it is not just something that you say, oh, it will happen, and it will happen without working at it. So
Correct.
we talk about walking the talk. So because we mentioned that our experiences differ from region to region. Africa is the most diverse continent that I know. When I say diverse, if you even take within a country, for instance, you take Nigeria, there are many cultures, languages, and also environmentally, there are places where
topographies,
certain crops or animals can do well.
Yeah.
Some places we talk about fisheries. The major occupation is fisheries, because they are surrounded by water bodies. Some are even islands like Cabo Verde, Madagascar. So those places, they do less of crop production and they do more of fishing, and call it blue economy, because the economy depends on the sea and the water bodies. So the way the development trajectory of each of this country will be different. Like when you compare with Ethiopia or Kenya or Rwanda or even Cameroon. So the way they practice their own agriculture and the type of agricultural enterprise they practice will be different. But everybody will agree that you must have food security.
Yes.
So your food security will come from a variety of things. So we talk about healthy diets. So even when you have food, it's not sufficient. The food must translate to diet. The diet will translate to nutrition.
Yes.
So if you have food, just in quantity, just having matuke, or what you call it in East Africa, or having gari, cassava, fufu all the time, that will not give you the nutrition that you need.
Yes.
But when you have fufu, you must have vegetables, you must have fish, you must have meat, you must have eggs, you must have milk. So a combination of this in right proportion
ensures nutrition
in healthy way. Now, even not talking about but even having their proportion, giving nutrition, but would that be healthy? When we talk about healthy diet, we also link back to the production process.
Whether it's healthy food that was produced.
Yes, because if you produce food that are heavily chemicalized, a lot of chemicals, sprays, vegetables, you spray everything, you preserve, you put a lot of preservative. By the time it gets to table and you over process food, you are not eating healthy food. You are just filling the tummy, as it were, but you're not eating healthy food. So safety becomes critical in terms of food. And that's why people produce, they want to export, because the percentage of certain chemicals in the food is too high, they are rejected. Now, where will you waste the resources? So you have to concentrate on producing healthy food.
Yeah.
It is the healthy food that will lead to good nutrition, that will lead to better development. We don't want to eat food and at the end of the day coming down to various diseases as a result of food. So that's why people now talk about agroecology, organic agriculture. It's a form of agriculture, but it's a type of agriculture that take concerns and cognizance of the production process, the
Yes.
transmission process, and even when it is the preservative process. So it is a chain, as we say again, it's a system that we need to consider. It's not, and that's why some food, even when you get to the supermarket, they are labeled maybe organic or not organic, conventional, because we already know that food that are produced in a hygienic way or healthy way, organic ways, take more time, really, take more time, take more resources, more carefulness into the production. But again, we can do this even at a small scale. So what do we advise? We advise people to have a garden. In your garden, you are likely to have vegetable that is grown without chemicals. So that again encourages people. So plant vegetables, plant some fruits, trees, depending on the area that you have. But again, we need to focus on the outcome and the impact. The impact we want to see is a resilient agriculture that is sustainable also, and it's based on production of healthy diets, right?
Yeah.
So
Dr. Olayide,
these are the issues.
yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Olayide, let me put this question to you like this. You are a agricultural economist, and you mentioned something around systems thinking about how the ecosystem of the agribusiness operates and agri-food systems. And you are also a development scholar. Can you link these two for me and then show our audience how these are really important in achieving Agenda 63 as part of your the Agenda 63 goals? Just kind of bring it home to let's say someone that has left university with an agricultural degree, and he wants to start considering the agri-economy, agri-food system as a sector where he wants to go in. Where does the research actually just assist him directly?
Okay, thank you very much. When you talk about an agricultural economist, it's somebody that uses the knowledge of economics in agriculture, right? Okay. The basic knowledge of economics talks about demand and supply, right? How do you create a demand, even there's no demand? How do you balance supplies so that you have equilibrium? So that I'll always emphasize, but again, let me put in perspective as economists and agricultural economists. Is to say that, okay, there are cycles of production. What are the materials that you need? So we talk about resources, inputs into a production process. So we talk about, in the field of agriculture, we talk about agriculture, production economics. So what are the things that need to go into production to be able to have profits? And also in terms of resource economics, again, which is also an aspect of agriculture, because in agriculture, we deal with the resources. And one basic resources that you deal with is land or land resources. So it can be water bodies, can be land resources or the earth. So is this, or are these resources available? Where are they available? If they are available, are they cultivatable? For instance, you can have land. If you have a mountainous land, you cannot plant rice there,
it wouldn't
right?
work.
Even though you have land. So you cannot just talk about access land. We talk about what do you want to do with the land? Do you want to cultivate the land? Is the land cultivatable? So if it's cultivatable, yes, you have that. So if you have other resources, then what is the reward, right? You don't just produce for charity. You want to maintain your life and also want to contribute to the society, right?
Correct.
So what's the reward for land? The land is rent. What's the reward for labor? Is wage. So if the wage is depressed, if the wage is not attractive, we talk about youth not going to agriculture, but how much they get at the end of the day? What's the highest paid farmer or worker, farm worker, compared to somebody that is in the oil industry? Right? So what is the reward for the wage? Yeah. For the labor is wage. What's the reward for management? To bring all these resources together, land, labor, capital, entrepreneurs together to be able to manage and get something better. What is the reward? It's profit. So is the person making profit? Say everybody should be an entrepreneur. Blah, blah, blah. But if after 2 years, you don't see yourself breaking through in terms of making profit, you go to other things and do other things because you don't want to continue the cycle of poverty again that I mentioned earlier. So as an economist, agricultural economics for that matter, is to help people to understand these resources and the rewards that are accrued to them and how they can use that to develop the society. So you link that to development. So what are the development indices? One, we can talk about better nutrition. So how do you manage resources on the land, the water, to produce better fish, to produce better crops, to produce the better livestock, like cattle or goats, that are well fed, that are we have better nutrition, that people, when they eat, they look healthy and not fall sick. You know, so that is the development outcome. Because if people eat and fall sick, it affects the labor, the productivity of the country. And if productivity of the country is low, it will affect the GDP, because GDP, which is an economic indicator, is saying that this is the total sum of what everybody in the country has produced, but in monetary terms. So the person that is working on the farm, the labor of the person working on the farm,
steel worker,
the labor of a person working in the train station, everybody come together, monetary time. That's why it is a denominator. The denominator is the monetary.
And some have argued that it doesn't really show a lot. That doesn't show, is that accurate? It's just an estimation that economists just come up with these numbers.
No, it will not just come up with numbers. We'll have how we compute, how we can move from what you eat, consumption. Because GDP has to do it. I don't want to talk about GDP, but it's like you can compute GDP in many ways. You can look at it in terms of what people produce. You can look at it in terms of what people consume.
Yeah.
Because, agriculturally, if, for instance, you go to somebody, you ask a farmer, how much do you earn per month? He may not be able to tell you exactly how much he earns per month. But if you ask that same person, what are the things you spend money on every month?
They know.
He'll be able to tell you, I spend money on this, I bought this. And you can sum up what the expenditures are to say, okay, that. But sometimes the expenditure may be with savings, so you add it to get what the total value of that person. So it's actually value-laden metrics. So it is the value that is created. And that's why we are poor people and poor country and rich country, because of the value that is attached to what they do. So if you have high value people, you have high income. And that's why graduates don't go into agriculture, because agriculture has no value in terms of their own perception. But the moment you increase the value of agriculture, you see people coming into it. So it's the value that attracts people to any place. So creative value for Africans will stay in Africa, but creative value elsewhere, they will run there.
Let me ask this question, Dr. Olayide. Yes. What structural conditions must African universities and research institutions put in place to sustain serious scholarship beyond project funding cycles?
Thank you. I think the questions are building up. To sustain scholarship, you need to value knowledge. Right. Most of the time, people don't value knowledge. They feel that, you are going to the university for 5 years and all you came back with is a paper, right? Certificate. You have somebody who has increased his or her worth, right? By studying how things can be successful.
How systems work.
How systems work. The person may not have tried it. Maybe, of course, person has little time of internship or exposure, but the person has higher value than somebody who did go to the university, for instance. So to do that effectively, to sustain the value that we have in the continent, we must be able to invest. And the investment does not have to come from government. It can come from, for instance, what we do. We just need to have a network of people who are like-minded, who can contribute their time. Right. Time is not money that people need, but they need somebody who will listen to their own side of the story and be able to advise them appropriately and say, you need to stay on this. Don't do this and stop. Don't do this and stop, but be consistent in what you do. be exposed, create opportunities for yourself, even there are no opportunities. And we'll talk about a global village. There's nothing that you want to do, anybody is doing anywhere in any part of the world that you cannot do where you are, if you are connected. For instance, we are connected from different places. Maybe because of COVID, we got into this more by having virtual interaction and all that. So you don't really time. You can actually close time, right? You can close space, right? With technology. So what they need to do, what is most critical in this going forward is your intellect, ability to think. And that's when people come to the university or especially to my class, I tell them my business is not to tell you everything, right? My business is to make you to be able to be a critical thinker, right? That's because when you leave the classroom, you will face the society. You will not be, when you face the challenge, you not go back to my notes. What did Dr. Lade teach us in class? The notes will disappear. It is the critical ability to think that will help you to solve the problem you face at hand. And in life, there are many problems, right? And if you're able to solve, the value that comes to you is a function of the problems that you're able to solve. If you think about the richest people in the world today, really that
solving problems, getting paid
they are
for
solving
it.
problems. They are paid for what the problem they solve, the solutions they provide. So ability to provide a solution, if we need people in the continent that are able to provide solutions. And you tell me, Africa has a lot of problems, right? Yes, so we have a lot of problems. So we have people who can solve the problems here. So it doesn't have to be people from the outside that will tell us our problems, but ability to solve our problem. And that's what the university should be doing. And that's what we are doing in the university also, where I am, to be able to train people who are problem solvers, and creating solutions for the continent, even for the environment. Because first, your own family. The family in Africa, you have a lot of people who are coming out from their family as the first graduate and all that. So it means that you are even going back to your family, and the younger generation must say, oh, I want to go to university because this our brother or sister who has gone to the university brought something good back to us.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So in doing that, but the
You're
society said
inspiring
there's no
others.
job. Exactly. The society said there's no job and all that. But how you are going to the university for 3, 4, 5 years, you should be able to think about how you can even modernize what is already indigenous to the society.
Absolutely.
For instance, if the family is into whatever trade, you can think of how you can use AI, even some by just designing something and putting it on the social media. People appreciate it in other places and say, oh, you can do this to me. Oh, this is always produced in Nigeria. How can you move this thing to another places? We have a lot of cargo that you can move around and all that. So ability to think about where you are. Somebody said that if you don't appreciate what you are, you will depreciate. So ability to appreciate what you have in a progressive way will help you to come out of poverty. Because we talk about poverty, we talk about it, but other nations come to and extract our resources and we classify them as rich countries, whereas those things are taken from our poor countries. You can see the irony. You take something from somewhere and you put it on there and now say you are the owner of that resources. No. But the people indigenous people who own the resources should be able to transform the resources. Ability to transform the resources will make us a better continent. And that's what we should teach in the universities. Because the university should be knowledge creation center. Thank you.
Dr. Olayide, when you and I interacted on the telephone, there was something you said to me that is very profound. You said to me, you are a public servant, thus you have to answer your phone because you are here to the extent that you can to assist with the little knowledge that you have. And I was very touched by that this is an academic that is offering themselves. The reason I'm mentioning this in this podcast is because there's two things here. Are people in Africa willing to offer their knowledge in the form of mentorship freely? And is there also a reception of that mentorship freely? What is your experience in mentoring people, and whether is this something that a lot of people are adopting, the idea of mentoring people? And are there mentees that are also willing to seek mentorship? What have you observed from your research, from your work so far?
Yeah, thank you very much. I said that. Thank you for reminding me what I said. I said many things that I don't remember, but when people remind me, maybe it's registered in the mind. As a university, as somebody who also passed through the university, you know that the university is very expensive. If we are to charge the real cost of training people, many people will not be able to go to university. If you look at that in many contexts in the country, yes, some universities have one university. I mean, some countries have fewer universities, right? Why? Because it's expensive to train people in the university. And when the society does train people like that, it is important that we're able to appreciate that and have a way of improving the society by also training the next generation, right? So anytime I have opportunity to speak on what the society has imbibed in me, I'm always very excited. I don't look at the monetary aspect because that's not the primary goal. That will come, by the way. But the most important thing is that we pass on the knowledge to the next generation. And that's why we are into this mentorship program. But getting back to your question is, are there people willing to take up this? Since our model is unique, we are not receiving grants from one donor agency. We are just a network of people who have gained exposure in some way, who are working somewhere in research centers and universities, and we feel that we can contribute to people's life beyond our university. Because we match people based on the field and different location. For instance, I'm in Nigeria. My mentee will definitely not come from my university because I've already known university. So if I had to have a mentee on the mentorship program, the mentee will probably be outside of my Nigeria. State. Most of the time, I have mentees outside Nigeria, right? And now we even have people in diaspora, so it's even outside the continent. So we try to do that deliberately because we want the mentee to have a feel of somebody that is far away yet very close, right? And it's meeting the need of that person. The person can talk to anytime and share knowledge. And because we have done this is the 7th year now, we also have mentees who have grown to be mentors. So these people now take it more passionately.
I see. Because they benefited from it.
They
benefited from it, and they've seen
the value.
Understand,
they can also tell the mentee, current mentee, okay, this is the module, this is what you should be doing. Are you prepared for this? Have you done this assignment and things like that? So they understand the system better than somebody who is just coming in and just invited to be a mentor who has not been a mentee, previous mentee on the program.
So they are paying it forward, and the human chain continues to produce value.
Actually, our goal is that after 10 years, we want to see 75% of the mentors to have been mentees on the program.
I see.
So that's our goal. But we will not have 100% because we also need to continue to cross-fertilize ideas so that we will not be repeating the same thing, but to have this critical mass of people who are paying back. And apart from being mentors on the program, we also have the alumni association. So the moment they finish, they join the alumni association and they still be able to understand their own need. They self-organize and have activity, plan the activity for the year on what to do, which will most of the time also different from what they gain as mentees on the program. And also, we also work together in case they have the alumni has a project or webinar. we also ask the current mentees to also join that.
I see.
In that way, they also
They're learning,
part
this
of the
continuous
system. They
learning
are learning,
and
yes, the
exchange.
continuous learning and exchange of ideas. So it is unique,
Mm.
but that's what we do, and we're able to run without external funding. But we know that our future goal will be that if we are able to have critical mass of people, alumni, mentees, and the mentors, we can develop projects, bid for grants, whereby we're able to support the mentees while on the program. Because we also see that many of the mentees, they may be distracted if they have financial issues to grapple. They have not paid their fees in school. They cannot pay accommodation. They don't have gadgets like computers to work and things like that. So if we're able to support them in terms of materials and finances, that may also help. That's the future we also see. But more importantly, we want an organic mentorship program that people can join. It's actually very competitive. When we started, we had 13 and we picked 8 in 2020. But now the last one, we had 253 and we're able to select 60. That means like 1 in 4 that we're able to select. So
that's interesting. It means it's getting more and more. A lot more people are warming up to it.
People.
Yes.
Exactly.
And then what about the people that are the mentors themselves? How many mentors are enrolling in terms of getting attracted to the work you do and becoming interested and say, no, I'm showing they're raising their hand and say, I want to be a mentor. I want to be a mentor. So that the disciplines are actually expanding as well.
Yes, we have that. Most of mentors are also recommending mentors to us, right?
Great. Absolutely.
So they recommend. I have 2 of my colleagues say, "Oh, they bring my colleagues, my colleagues to the system." But we have to be sure, because mentorship is a sensitive
It's
thing.
It's a long-term thing.
Yeah, it also depends on integrity, right?
Yes.
You want to trust somebody with these hands. So you cannot just bring everybody or anybody into the system as mentors. You have to be sure of the integrity of that person.
Yeah.
Not just intellectual integrity, but moral integrity.
Yes.
So we balance all these issues. So if it's coming from a mentor that we know, say, oh, I'd like to recommend my colleague. Good, that is good. But we don't just take people and say, I want to be a mentor in your program without track record of being a good scholar, right?
Another thing, Dr. Olayide, let's just go a little bit into what you are researching now in terms of your discipline. What patterns are emerging in terms of the future of agricultural economy? What patterns are you seeing in the literature, in the research that is giving you, maybe keeping you awake at night or making you feeling more inspired? What are we looking to do? Is our future in safe hands?
Yes. As a researcher, I always be optimistic.
Yeah.
Even
Okay.
when you know there are challenges, right? Well, patterns, as I said previously, as I mentioned, that we used to look at agriculture in segments. I would say this is crop segment, this is livestock segment, this is fishery segment. But now, with a system thinking, full system, we know that this should work together. But by nature, they are designed to work together. Take, for instance, maybe poultry. Now, poultry, they feed on grains, right? The grains, poultry is animal, right? They feed on grains, which is crops, right? When they feed on crop, they produce meat and egg, right? When they produce meat and egg, the meat and egg are eaten by human beings, right? Even as crops and things are eaten by human beings. So also the fishes can also feed on maggots, which is like a byproduct of
the poultry produce,
So you see a network. Now, if you take that value higher from the primary production of egg and meat, you take it higher to producing baby food or pharmaceuticals, or having them in the value chains, in the supermarket, and so you see that it's a whole lot of a
ecosystem.
complex thing. It's an ecosystem, and it takes somebody beyond the farm level to be able to understand these processes. So the next thinking of agricultural economics is not just agricultural economics, but apply economics. So how do I apply the economics at the field level? How do I apply it at the market level? How do I apply it at the industry level? And we talk about agro-industry. How do you create a network of what we call ecology of industry that are working together, not working in isolation,
sustain the system.
to sustain the system. So we talk about industrial ecology, we talk about system thinking, and we talk about circular economy. Now, if I go to circular economy, because I convene circular economy in Africa every year, so we'll be having the 7th edition in May.
Okay.
Now, the circular economy, as we define it, is an evidence of your sustainability. The circular economy looks beyond just produce, take, and throw away, but it sees value even in waste.
I see.
And waste come from difference. And we talk about waste streams. It can be water, it can be semi-solid. It can be, for instance, waste from animals, right? It can be wastewater from fisheries. So how do we integrate the waste back into the system? In fisheries itself, there's what we call recirculating aquaculture system, right?
Yeah.
RAS. So it is taking that you recycle the water to feed back into the system. Also, and that affects many things. So we talk about regenerative agriculture. If you take one example of regenerative agriculture, a species of agriculture that I know by nature is regenerative, is banana or plantain.
Yeah.
When you plant a banana or plantain, it rarely dies so long as it's in a good environment. Before the bunch mature, you see another one has come up.
Yes.
And the one that you cut down will help you to fertilize, as it were, the soil, to keep the nutrient system going almost perpetually, except there's fire or anything in the farm. You don't need to worry that you need to plant another banana to have the next banana.
Yes.
So that is the system we are thinking about, that we have a regenerative agriculture. So regenerative agriculture, we call for another model, because in economics, we run models.
Yes.
We run models and pick the one that is best. So we say this is the best fit in terms of model. So how do we customize different models for different systems? But at the end of the day, they are still adding up to the overall. Because if a system, just like a ripple on the water, if a system is distorted, like we had in COVID, where there's a lockdown and people cannot move food around.
Yeah.
You will still need to have a system that is able to sustain the food system.
Yes.
I mean, the food and the nutrition of the country. So how do we create that system such that if there's a disturbance can be weather, it can be health, it can be finances. Before that, we talked about a financial crisis, can be climate crisis, and that is even becoming more intense.
Is that where you talk about climate resilience?
That's why we talk about climate resilience, and we talk about climate smart agriculture. But we have even gone beyond climate smart agriculture. We talk about climate proofing. How do you make sure that your system is proof? Or, for instance, if you have a building, you say it is noise proof, right?
Yes.
I mean, noise does not penetrate to it.
Yeah.
So how do you ensure that your production system is climate proof? So that is the next level we are looking at, not just climate smart, but it has to be climate proof. So all of this is talking about the system, that this system may not continue to yield this. Whenever there is a crisis or a shock somewhere, how do we mitigate that shock? How do we build resilience? Because resilience says that when you are exposed to issues like crisis, how do you build back? But with the condition that your initial condition is not is the best condition.
I see.
So if you're already in a best condition and there's a crisis, how do you go back to that situation? But if you're already in a low condition, your system of resilience will be different. So the
Yes.
pathway will be different, because we also first of all need to make you to become out of that poverty, if poverty is the condition. And when you are outside poverty, how do you sustain your level at that state where you are, prosperous state, if you call, or Eldorado, that's how we call it in economics.
So basically,
resilience is critical in the system thinking.
Yeah. So basically, in your current research at the moment, you are optimistic that if these systems that the research and the literature is showing you, some of which I believe you channel it through your mentorship program and your graduate coaching program, but how else do a public access some of your research, Dr. Olayide, so that if someone is a small-scale farmer or someone is considering to take a gap year from university and venture into exploring agriculture as a next frontier of economic growth, how do they access some of this research that you have produced?
Thank you very much. I can only show that with evidence.
Okay.
As I said earlier, though, we organize this conference every year called the Circularity Africa Conference, and we focus on the system, as it were, and from production to waste, and how you put back your waste to the production process, and how you ensure, if it is food system, healthy diet. So we have, when we do organize the conference, we should do every May, is to have exhibitors. We invite business owners. And I want to give an example of somebody who is taking this up. This person is into, there are so many of them. I can just pick this one because I'm talking about food today. She's into granite cake making. Right. I mean, you get granite cake from granules, and the granite is planted on the field. And the field can be infested with what we call aflatoxin, right?
Yes.
It's aflatoxin is something that can affect the liver, right? Because liver cancer. So she came to our meetings, and we were talking, as we were discussing with people that, oh, I'm having this problem with aflatoxin. I want to import my kuli, we call it kuli, that's the granite cake in Nigeria. And she said, how can we help? So fortunately, that year, 2023, we organized a conference and we visited IITA. So deliberately, because we discussed before the conference, and I know that IITA has AflaSafe, a system that is, they produce a sort of chemical inoculant that they can use to control aflatoxin in grains. So we deliberately organized, because during the conference, we normally have a tour, right? So we deliberately organized the tour to IIT, and we went to that unit where they produced it. I think got a contact and all that. Fast forward to this year, she reported that she is now able to produce AflaSafe granite from her field. Again, that knowledge she received, she went back to farmer because
very
she
practical,
cannot
very hands-on, very applicable.
She cannot produce all the granite she will need as an entrepreneur. So she needs to get outgrowers. But she needs to tell the farmers that are producing the granite to use the AflaSafe to be able to produce, to be able to buy from them. So the farmers get the knowledge. They are able to tell other farmers that if you produce
like this,
that are AflaSafe this way, your price will be higher. In fact, you will get a guaranteed market, not one carrying your granite.
No guesswork.
No, and all that. So we can see how we use our knowledge of disseminate during conferences to inform businesses, and businesses to producers, and also to the larger economy. Because this person can now produce and export. So she also getting foreign exchange, and the economy, the GDP we talk about later,
will increase again.
And it's improved, right?
Yeah. Dr.
So that's what
Olayide,
we do.
this is incredible. When in May, because this episode will play in April, I think so. When in May is this conference taking place? Because I've spoken to someone that a researcher in mycotoxicology from the University of Johannesburg, Professor Patrick Berkan Jobe, who talked
Yes.
about exactly what you are talking. And when you were
I
speaking, he kind of links
no
it up with
wonder.
what you've said about interdisciplinarity,
Yeah.
how collaboration is required in this sector. So again, when is this event happening in May? Can you just give us the details? Because this is exactly what we will need for this podcast to be able to do these linkages with various
Okay.
other disciplines, with various other stakeholders, and people that can benefit directly from listening to you on the podcast.
Yes, the conference will hold second week of May. I think it's 15, May 12th to 15th May
Yeah.
uh, at Osun State University. It's a university, a state-run university in Nigeria, in the
Yeah.
southwest part of Nigeria. And the focus is enhancing circular economy in the African food system sector. So we are asking one question. Does Africa has a food system or a food culture? If we do, what is it? Is that food culture wasteful or regenerative? So that is what we'll be exploring during the conference. So we'll have exhibitors, people who went into the food sector, whether as producers or processors or marketers or exporters of food and packages
Yeah.
of packaging food. So we'll be exploring that essentially. And we also have, as output of the conference, we have conference proceedings, and we also have a journal to go with it. So whether you are an entrepreneur or business person, you can come and share, get ideas. As I just narrated earlier, that somebody who is the business, she was having problems with aflatoxin, and she came for the conference. We linked her with the research center. She was able to get
Incredible.
the product to apply, and now she has improved. So we want business people to come and get ideas. Actually, we want to move from production to real products. We want to have products. Our research output should not just end in journals in US or Europe or everywhere around the world, but it should be feeding to development agenda in the continent. And we know that our conference is trying to do that. We are not yet there because we need to have a critical mass of people. I can also give an example of somebody who is into just turning nylon water
Plastic.
sachet, right?
Yeah.
Plastic. No,
Yeah.
actually the sachet, water sachet
Yeah.
into bags and producing for secondary school who are in the rural areas, and things like that. So we can actually decongest our cities with pollutants and turn this waste, because we see them in our cities, in rural areas, and with knowledge, we can turn them to useful products that can be beneficial to everyone
Yeah.
everywhere. So this conference is there to achieve that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. Olayide, you've even almost wrapped up our conversation. Is any final thoughts, any encouragement to people that want to pursue a PhD in your discipline? Any final thoughts?
Final thought is everything that is good will have its own challenges, right? So don't look at the challenges that are before you. Look at the goal. It's often said that those who have goals know where they are going. So if you have a goal, let that goal lead you to where you are going. Don't be distracted with the challenges that you face now. And if you are having challenges that are beyond you, talk to a mentor. And that's why we created a mentorship program that somebody can talk to and get advice from a senior and experienced person who has similar experience like you. And again, we are a network. So because we have monthly meetings, so we share ideas. So one mentor may not have all the solutions, but when we come together, the mentors, mentees during our webinar, we're able to provide solutions to current needs and challenges of people. So talk to people, don't keep the challenges to yourself, but more importantly, you should be contributing to solving a problem in the continent. And I tell you, there are many challenges, right? Is it in governance? So if we even take governance, we encourage you to go into governance, but governance starts from your primary place, from where you are. Volunteer to help, right? It is often said that opportunity comes as a workload. So it will come to you like, oh, this is ready, come and take it. No, you have to demonstrate that you can do it. And the best way to do it is to sacrifice to help. You can even be a class rep, right? From your secondary school, to the university, be a class monitor, always trying to help people, because you develop that character of helping people. And someone said, if you need anything, whatever you need in life, try as much as possible to do it to other people. For instance, if you need money, start giving people. Not necessarily money, but if you have 1,000 naira, which is less than $1, you can give 10 cents or something. You always see, there's no situation you are that you will not see somebody that is worse than you, right? So the moment you are able to identify that you are better than this person, then try to help that person. It can be any field, whatever. I don't want to emphasize any field, but it can be anything in your neighborhood. You can offer your service, have a cooperative. In a student, you can identify somebody. Let me share this experience. In one of my classes, my set of students, there was a time that people needed to pay money, and there's one or two people that didn't have money to pay their school fees. And I remember there are some of them that are even wealthier. So I decided to talk to one or two of them that are wealthier, who can afford to pay. I said, oh, this person cannot afford to pay school fees, but I know that if the person doesn't pay, he may drop out or something, but not even concentrate and all that. I said, would you like to help that person? The person said, oh, yes. No, the person didn't say the need, but when I brought up the need as a mentor now, you know the condition of everybody in your class and all that. So I said, the person said, yes, she will, but don't tell the person that I'm the one who is doing this, right? So fast forward the story. These people are now in different places. This person that gave is even in a higher position, that he can even give 1,000,000 times over what she gave then. And this other person that was helped is also in a very good condition now. They are all settled down, married and all that. So I'm just saying that you can be the one. Many people walk around, but they just see problems. But when you walk around, don't see problems, see solutions, see what can be done about that sort of situation. And the value will come back to you, because the value may not come in terms of money, like I'm saying this now, but the value that I'm benefiting now is that I'm part of that success story, of that scenario that happened.
Absolutely.
And I'm gladly sharing it. As I'm sharing it, I'm happy because I contributed to that. Just contribute to something that is happening around you. They may not recognize it. The society has a way of putting down what has it done that others have not done. But don't worry, but your own benefit is coming, right? You derive joy in what you do, and that is life, right? Ability to get that satisfaction. Fulfillment is not just about success, but ultimate satisfaction that you have helped somebody. And I think we are in this part of the world to help others, because if you have been helped, you need to help others. And there's nobody who has not been helped in life, really. In the African society, we say that it takes 1,000 or 100 to raise a person. So if that's taking like 100 people to raise you to the position you are now, have you now helped as much as 100 people? That's the way I think. So you think about where you are and think about what you can do to help the society to be better. This is the best continent that I know in terms of weather, in terms of people. That's why people, when they get out of the continent, they thrive, right? They don't just survive;
They thrive.
Yeah.
They
So
thrive.
because they have been made from the best
Yes.
of the materials that the world offers. So try to be the best wherever you are. That's what I will encourage. If you are a cleaner, be the best cleaner. You'll be recognized, and somebody will invite you to the state house to come and be cleaning. Don't you know they clean in the state house too? Whatever you do in your local area is also done at a higher level. So sometimes you will have a higher call to come and do this for us, and they will pay you for that. And you'll be wondering, what am I doing? It's so little, but you are getting so much. You will have forgotten that you have invested in other people and just paying back. As you are benefited, pay forward, right? Not thinking that, not even thinking that somebody will pay you back, really. I think that's the spirit. Just do it because it is needful, it is human to do it. And that's why, you know why we are called mankind? It's because we need to be kind as a man. Not as a woman too. Woman beings should be kind naturally. That's why we are mankind. So if we are not kind, then it becomes
Wow,
a
that's
problem.
profound.
We'll be wondering whether you are bad or something. But just be good. Yeah? In your profession, make sure that your profession is benefiting the society. When I teach sustainability, I teach sustainability as science of social relevance. So how relevance is your science? How relevance is your arts? How relevance is your whatever you do in any space? If it's relevant to the society, then you are contributing. But if it's not relevant, then you may need to consider or reconsider the relevance of what you are doing to improve the society. And the only measure of relevance is that it's leading to improvement of the society. So that's the only way that you can judge whether it is relevant or not, whether science or arts or any field of endeavor.
Dr. Olayide, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
My pleasure, sir.